Welcome to PrepsNet Coach Speak with Tabernacle Christian head basketball coach Matt Grimes. Here's your host, Aubrey Johnson.
Welcome in, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So a week ago, you took on Cornerstone, went to Rainsville to play the game, and came away with a loss, 44-33. Tell us about that night.
It was a very slow-paced game. The halftime score was actually 16-16, so
Wow.
Neither of us really were getting a whole lot going. We came out in the second half. We actually scored the first 6 points, so we went on a little run there.
Right.
And then they finished out the quarter on a 17-4 run. So they ended up outscoring us by 7 for the quarter. We just never quite got it back, and it stayed pretty close to that really for the rest of the game. I think we fouled them a little bit there at the end, and they got a basket there towards the end to pull it away a little bit more. But so for the most part, it was relatively close. They just really got us in that third quarter. I think they had 5 threes, so 17 points, 5 of them were threes. So we just didn't do a good job closing out on those. But that one's it's a big one for us. We'll see them again later this week.
Right, right. So then on Friday, you played. You actually hosted Providence. Tell us about that. How did that go?
Again, Providence is a tough game for us.
Right.
So we started off slow, unfortunately. It was 15-3 at the end of the first quarter. Again, we just could not get anything going offensively.
Right.
After that point, we picked it up. We were able to keep that gap. So that was a 12-point gap. I think it was a 15-point margin at halftime, and then we closed it back down somewhere in the second half to single digits, maybe even as close as 6, something like that. And then they were able to pull back away from us. So. It was one of those. It was encouraging because we, were able to keep it competitive there after the first quarter. But it's just one of those things we've had a problem with for a good part of the season of just starting off the games really slow. So
Gotcha.
Still something we got to work on.
Yeah, for sure. So then last night you traveled to Decatur to play Masters Hand. You fell to them 41-29. Give us an overview.
Yeah, that one again just. Slow going. Again, offensively, we just couldn't get a whole lot going. Second quarter was we really struggled. We scored a few more in the fourth actually to end the game, but yeah, it was just slow going. We were without Tucker and Jeremy, so Tucker's been our leading scorer all season long. Very few games where he wasn't our leading scorer and he wasn't there, so it was really hard for us to get things going. But some of the other guys actually got in some more experience there, and it's good for Masters Hand. They've they've had some down years, but this is probably the best team that they've had at least in quite a while. So, and they were actually here for our Torch Classic. They won that, so they're a good solid team. So it wasn't a terrible loss for us, but we didn't play as well as we would have liked to have.
Okay, so this Thursday you play Clay County. You've met them once before. Lost that game. Did you learn some things in that first game that you can take into this one?
Yeah, well, we did. Just their style of play. And Clay County actually has one of their better teams. They've had some pretty good teams in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But they had some guys who, pretty smooth and look like they've been getting a lot of basketball. And so that's good for them. So they were able to beat us there. They did a little bit of pressing and trapping and so forth. So, we'll be a little bit better prepared for that this time. And that was also one where Aaron and Jeremy were both out in that one. Again, not to make excuses for any of our losses throughout the season, because we've lost plenty even with these guys. But that was a situation where those guys were out, and having those two in is going to help us handle some of their pressure and so forth a little bit better. So, and that one's a region game for us. So Thursday and Friday the next one, those are both region counter games for us that really are. For seeding purposes for the postseason, really we need to win them both in order it'll end up forcing a 3-way tie between the three of us. So real important games for us this week.
Okay, very good. So this Friday you mentioned it, and you also mentioned Cornerstone Rainsville coming here to play. Again, a second meeting. How do you think things will be different this time?
Well, hopefully we can get something going a little more offensively and not just put up more than 16 points, hopefully in a half, will really help us. And then They came here for our Torch Classic,
Right.
and we were able to beat them here that first time. So when we went up to their place, they actually played really good defense, and which is giving them credit for our offensive struggles. They played really nice tight man to man, and so we'll just work on some things, maybe come up with some new plays and so forth to throw in there before that one, and then just be able to fight a little bit better against it. So hopefully being on our court, and we can maybe make some shots that we didn't make there.
Right.
And then again, we let them really have some open threes there in that third quarter. Hopefully we can take some of that away when they come to our place on Friday. But again, just like the Thursday, both of these are real important games for us. Really, it's going to be a matter of we have to win them both in order for seeding for our postseason. So
Right. Gotcha. So one more regular season game left after these on the 7th. And then it's on to state, whatever that's going to look like. You mentioned the seedings. That's still up in the air. We'll know more the next time we meet. So hopefully, fingers crossed, things will go well. And you guys will be seeded into state, and we'll move on to that.
Yeah, we're getting wrapped up. So just a few left. These two, the one next week, so the two this week are really our last region games.
Right.
Next week, it'd be a good preparation game for us, but for the postseason. But we're getting there. The good news is we get a little bit of a break between games to where we can get in some practice time as well.
That'll be good.
So hopefully we can have everybody healthy and get everybody going and make one final push here at the end of the season. So.
Good deal. All right. So, Coach, that's our show. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We certainly appreciate you watching week in and week out. Join us again next week for another Tabernacle version of Coach Speak.